God is not looking at your outward appearance, but he's looking at your heart. The way you dress, right? It can lure someone away from Christ or lure someone into Christ.
People think that modesty is restriction. So they're like, oh, I have to stay fully clothed. That's kind of restricting me to what I can and cannot wear. But I see it the other way. I see it as the less clothing you have on, the more restricting it is. Because fashion should be about the clothing that you wear, the jewelry that you wear, the shoes you wear, not about how your body looks in it.
So I think instead of making fashion about how your body looks, it has to be an art, because now the focus is on accessorizing, on styling, and all of that. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Elevate podcast, and we are so excited to be launching the Her Vibez series. It's all about, speaking to young women, all those topics that affect us as young women. And today I have with me Shani and I have with me Jen, and today's episode is titled Countercultural Style. Before we get into it, how are you, Shani? How are you going?
I am blessed.
How was your week?
The week has been amazing, super busy, but I'm here today and I'm super excited.
And you look so beautiful as always.
Thank you, so do you.
And Jen, how was your week?
It was good. Nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
Another day, another chance of blessings and to help people. So
yeah, amazing. So with the countercultural style, today we're talking about fashion, right? And it's a big part of our lives as young women. And speaking about fashion, today we are really honing in on fashion and modesty. Now, before we get deep into it, right, a lot of people say that God only cares about what is inside, what is in your heart. And sometimes they even quote 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 7 that says, "For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." And they say that actually, does it really matter what I wear, what I dress like? Does God even care about that?
Well, I must say the scripture is as it is. God is not looking at your outward appearance, but he's looking at your heart. But let me take you back a little bit, back to the creation story, Adam and Eve, right? I was studying this the other day. I'll just give you a little brief of what happened. So God created Adam and Eve and he placed them in the Garden of Eden, right? And God gave them a responsibility, which was to take care of the earth, right? And then the deceiver came and, influenced Eve to eat the forbidden fruit, and which she did. And so she ate it and gave it to Adam as well. And Adam ate of it. And their eyes opened and they were ashamed. And they started running around trying to get something to cover themselves up, right? And God came, he walked in the garden, and Adam and Eve heard his voice walking. And God asked them, "Where are you guys?" And Adam was like, "Oh, we don't have any clothes, we're ashamed," right? But mind you, Adam and Eve didn't have clothes on. God did not, care about that. He just looked at them as people that he put on the earth, created in his own image to take care of the earth. So clothing wasn't even part of the number one priorities he had for humans. But the number one priority that he had for Adam and Eve was to take care of the world. And part of that is to take care of the people within the world. And that leads me to letting you know that you are called to a ministry of reconciliation, right? And that means through your ministry of reconciliation, your clothes alone plays a big part in it. It's either to the way you dress, right? It can lure someone away from Christ or lure someone into Christ just by how they see you dress. Now, inasmuch the scripture says God only looks at your inside heart and not your outward exterior, it's not an excuse for you to dress inappropriately or indecently or showing off everything. this is the time where you get to realize that you are no longer, shamed, just like Adam and Eve. They were ashamed and they covered up themselves. That was back then. But we're now in the New Testament where Christ calls you a royal priesthood, a holy nation. You are supposed to present yourself, honorable, with dignity. And that leads me to let you know as well that the way you dress as well is a sign of worship to God, right? The way you're dressing, we are in a world that's filled with influence where we look at people dressing up and we want to do the same thing as well. We want to look nice and in what the Gen Z's term these days, sexy, right? And that's not the main goal that we're supposed to be running towards. So the fact that you're separating yourself from the world and putting yourself that I want to honor God with my dressing, in that self is an act of worship. So just to summarize all of that, God is not looking at your outward exterior, but he's looking at your heart. And still that doesn't excuse you to dress indecently, inappropriately, because you are called to a ministry. And through that ministry, you are called to do wonders and great things just by how you look.
Okay. So basically, I can't just rock up at church, dress however I want, because after all, I'm just saying he's looking at the heart because of everything that you've explained. But then the thing is, how do you measure modesty, right? Because, I can look at Shani and I think, oh, you're dressed modestly. Because I think sometimes there's some cross-cultural issues as well, that depending on cultural background, how you've experienced the world, somebody can come and say, oh, actually, even by what you're dressing, how you're dressed is not modest. So how do you then gauge whether you're dressed appropriately or not, or modestly or not?
I feel like that was a question I thought the most of. I was like, how do you know what's modest and what's not? How do you know what needs to be covered up and what is fine to be shown? But 1 Corinthians 8:9 says, be careful, however, that the exercise of your rights does not become a stumbling block to the weak. So I feel like it's not about necessarily everything. You don't have to cover all your arms or your legs and show no skin at all. I think it's how it gets perceived to other people. So if you are going out and you know what you're wearing is going to bring lust to people and bring sin to people, or you're doing it, even in the back of your mind, you're doing it for the wrong intention, I think that's obviously not what should be followed by. And I feel like a lot of women, they say, oh, I'm dressing for myself, I'm wearing this for myself, not for the attention of men. But I feel like it's always, if you're dressing up modestly and you're showing skin and you're going out, especially to the clubs and those types of places, even in the back of your mind, without you even realizing, we live in a world of sin, the devil is going to be attacking your mindset. Because how everyone thinks and how the world runs and how we grew up in this world is not what God intended it to be. So I think that people have kind of just blinded themselves to thinking, oh, it's for me, so it's okay. But I think it can be measured by thinking, is this going to affect my relationships with other people? Make my guy friends see me a different way, make random people see me a different way, and really sexualize me because of what I'm wearing? Or am I actually doing this for myself? I'm actually covering myself, I look nice. But the thing about fashion is, fashion has become something that people have bring body image into. I feel like people think that modesty is restriction. So they're like, oh, I have to stay fully clothed. That's kind of restricting me to what I can and cannot wear. But I see it the other way. I see it as the less clothing you have on, the more restricting it is. Because fashion should be about the clothing that you wear, the jewelry that you wear, the shoes you wear, not about how your body looks in it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I feel like with more clothing, more cloth, more jewelry, you can do more with it and style more with it. But if you're going minimal, then there's obviously going to be less you can do with it. And I feel like people have been like, oh, this looks good on my body, so it's fashion. Instead of saying, oh, I designed this goes with this goes with that, that's fashion. They've kind of mixed up what fashion means.
Yeah. Yeah. And you do some stuff in fashion as well. You've
do,
got some interest in fashion. Talk to us about that as well.
Well, growing up, I never took fashion as a big thing. But there was a point in my life a few years ago where I really, I liked working with kids. I liked going to church and all that, but I didn't really have something that I felt fulfilled in to do with my future. And being in high school, I was like, everyone was telling me, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. So I was really trying to find something that I could feel fulfilled in as a job.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've always loved preaching. I've always loved talking about God, and I do have stories on how he has saved me. I do say I'm saved by Jesus. So I was like, what is a better way to preach to people than use fashion behind it? Because I've seen so many videos of people preaching, and it's good. It's good to preach. It's good to go out and stand in front of people and say the word of God, say the truth. But there's so many people that will just walk past or
That is
block
true.
it out of their ears.
That is so true, yeah.
But if you were wearing it, they walk past you, they can't escape it.
Yeah.
They're soaking it in. It's planting a seed whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
But things I've realised getting into fashion and getting into Christian fashion is that there's a lot of clothing items that don't really, they're like nice messages and nice little paragraphs that talk about God, but I feel like it needs to be something that clicks. Like it's just a few words or a sentence, and someone walks past that and they think, damn, that's helped me, that's affected me, that's changed me, because so many pieces of Christian clothing now doesn't really affect people. It's kind of things that people have heard before. So I was like, okay, because I've been being in a public school and preaching, I've been shut down so many times and hated on so many times for my faith. And how I've kind of, they've asked my opinion on it, and then I'll give them my opinion, they're like, I don't want to hear it anymore. But if I'm wearing it, then you can ask my opinion, but even if you don't like it, if you don't like the truth, because that's all I'm saying, I'm not saying my opinion, I'm saying the truth, then I'll wear the truth. So either way you can
See it.
I don't want to seem forceful, but it's not forceful, because you're not saying to them, you have to read my shirt, look at it, stare at it. You're just walking past and planting seeds without them even realising, and they may look back at that in a few years' time and remember that and be like, oh, I heard something about that, I remember something about that, or someone may bring that up or preach it and they'll be like, oh, I've heard of that before.
Yeah.
It's because you've worn it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so true. And I love what you're talking about planting seeds. And what we don't realize is that there's seeds being planted without us even realizing. There's so much. And that's how we've had these misconstrued ideas about fashion as well. Because with me, when I was a lot younger, I couldn't imagine myself being modest and fashionable at the same time, because it was just not something it's not even something that I could imagine, because, like I said, there are seeds being sown into us all the time as we see stuff on social media, as we see the adverts and all of that. And now I love what you said about also using fashion you can actually use fashion to evangelize in a way that is not invasive. And then you also touched about, you can actually play around with fashion even when it's modest. So talk to us about, can you be fashionable and modest at the same time? Is it even possible?
Absolutely, 100%. The amount of times I've gone on the street and I see somebody in a long dress, I'm like, wow, that lady looks gorgeous. And I'm like, I look at them so respectfully, and I'm like, when I go to talk to them, I'm like, oh my goodness, you look so gorgeous. And it's not of just how they just put on a long dress, but they styled it in such a way.
Yeah.
You're like, this looks magnificent. This looks amazing, right? And just the tiny little pieces that you put together on your outfit can actually wow your outfit, right? For example, if you have a long dress on, you can pop on a belt, add some jewelry to it, add some accessories. Your outfit is going to look amazing. So you can still look modest but stylish at the same time. So you don't have to give up on that dream of, I want to be, look so good, but then Jen was saying, there's such a restriction. Most people think that the first thing that they think when they hear of modesty is you have to be fully covered up from your head to your toes. My darling, it's not like that. It's not like that. You can still look absolutely stunning with that modest outfit. All you need to do is put in some pieces together and your outfit would actually look so much better than somebody who has like booty shots on or like a shirt that's showing all the cleavage, right? You can look like, if you think about it, you would be respected, right? And how I like to put it, dress like how you want to be addressed, right? If I'm dressed up in that way, I believe somebody will look at me with respect, with honor, with dignity, right?
Yeah.
They will not just talk to me anyhow because of just how I look, right? And just like Sis Jen said, it's an avenue for somebody to actually come to you and ask, "Oh, how did you make that happen?" Right? And then from there, you can like touch base with now talking about Christ. Like, I dress like this because I honor God. I dress like this because I don't want to follow what the world is. I don't want to look normal like everybody else, because why would you want to look like everybody else? Why would you want to sink in with everybody else when you can choose to distinguish yourself from the world, set apart from the world, and dress decently but still look amazing at the same time?
So I think instead of making fashion about how your body looks, it has to be an art, right? Because I think the modesty allows you, what you're saying, that modest fashion is actually liberating, because now it's more of an art. The focus is on accessorizing, on styling, and all of that. And Jen, can you please just encourage another girl out there, because with the emphasis on the perfect stereotypical body in fashion, sometimes a lot of women struggle with self-esteem because of what they look like. The clothes are not just fitting right. The typical clothes are not fitting right. So can you give somebody out there who might be struggling with body image and fashion a word of encouragement?
I think it's all about the mindset. I think it's all about the heart behind it. Everything is about your heart behind it. Growing up as a tall girl, I genuinely, and having red hair and all these things, I didn't fit into the society's expectation. So I was always like, oh, like I might not be able to pull that off or whatever. And especially when I listened to the world and when I was in my secular music and stuff as well, I felt the need to dress a different way from modest. And it honestly just put me down. It made me think, oh, my body can't be that good then if I'm wearing this and I don't look as good as other people do. But then when I started actually just dressing modestly and dressing fashion for fashion and not for my body image, I was like, wait, I look good. Like, God made me well.
Yeah.
So I say it's all about the heart behind it. If you had the heart to really show people how God made you and just stand out, and as you said, don't be like everyone else. Don't follow the basic of what the world goes by, and just do your own thing in God, then you're going to be more confident than you ever have been. Yeah. And absolutely. More strong. Because one thing I realized is with worldly perspectives on things, for example, if you look for being confident in showing skin and not covering up, it's never going to fully fulfill you. Because sin doesn't fulfill you. That's why people keep doing it and keep repeating it. So if you find confidence physically in what you wear by dressing modestly and styling right and kind of looking in the right areas, it's going to fulfill you way more than what dressing unmodestly would. Absolutely. And it's going to make you feel so much more confident.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the end of the countercultural episode. Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies, for this conversation. I think we need to have these conversations more often. And welcome to the series, Her Vibez. We're so excited. We're going to have exciting episodes coming up. And please go on and like and share and comment. Would love to have more conversation about these kind of topics with you. We are on all social media platforms. Thank you so much for today.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.